Yo, what's up, Park Trade Center? How's everyone doing tonight? Having fun here? I know I am. All right, as Zach said, my name's Garret Schuelke. I'm a writer formerly based here in Kalamazoo. I now reside in Grand Rapids. And as Zach said, I have a book coming out, hopefully at the end of this month. It's called Hub Jamboree. It's a collection of short stories. And tonight I would like to read you one of them. And I would also like to note too that, technically it started last night, but today marks my long sought vacation, which is going to take place in Chicago, where as part of that I intend on reading at various open mics. And I'm recording an album, and I'm just going to call it Live in Chicago. And yeah, I guess you count this as the prelude to it. So let's begin. This one is one of the stories from Hub Jamboree. It's one of the shorter ones, so it makes for a very good read. It's called What Heart? And here we go. Oh, wait a sec, Zach. Yo, Zach. Dude, are you recording this? Oh, shit. Sorry about that. All right, this one's called What Heart? Floyd wore his dad's Carhartt and the boots he used to wear back when he hunted. He tied them the best he could, but they felt like he just slipped them on. They went back to Will's blind. Henry checked the propane tank, and Will checked the deer can. Rambo sniffed around, and Floyd stood next to the spot where they used to put the salt blocks. He looked up into the trees for porcupines. He asked Will if the owls for last season was still in the area. Will confirmed that it was, usually gliding through the branches, harassing the larger beasts who come to feast on the corn and sugar beets, and snatching up the smaller creatures. They searched in three directions. Floyd stayed on the right, near the edge of Uncle Bruce's field. He scanned his area for blood. He got excited when he spotted a dark, splattered cluster. He felt stupid when he discovered that it was just dirt from an uprooted tree. He was relieved that he didn't call out to his dad and brother. Henry and Will each had rifles and walked straight ahead. They didn't look down and they didn't stumble. Rambo zipped around. Floyd stepped between broken branches. His foot sank into some slush. He muttered and shook the ice off. Rambo sniffed in front of him. Floyd felt he was too close to the field. Floyd called him over. He ignored him and exited the woods. Floyd yelled at Rambo. Henry and Will called and whistled for him. Floyd ran out into the field. Rambo was on the other side near the patch of woods that separated the Spicer camp from Beeswax Road. Floyd begged Rambo not to move as he ran towards him. He grabbed him by the collar. Rambo had his head down, shooting. Floyd grabbed the object from Rambo's mouth, ripping it, and threw it away. Rambo swallowed the portion he had left. Floyd dragged him across the field, examining his glove. It was soaked, covered in dirt and hair, and stung. Henry and Will were waiting for them. Floyd released Rambo, and Henry kicked him in the butt when he went up to him. Floyd told Will that Rambo was chewing on something. Will said it was the guts of the deer that Uncle Bruce shot and cleaned earlier in the week. They walked back to Will's blind on the same sides. Henry and Will continued searching. Floyd watched the field until it disappeared, then looked into the frozen swamp area. He kept sniffing his glove. At the blind, they agreed that the deer Will shot probably wandered off property and died. Henry said to spread it out on their way to camp, just in case. He also said he wanted to check on Floyd's blind. They found no blood spots. Henry said Floyd's blind had yet to be used that season. Will and Floyd checked it out. There was dust all over the floor and chair. Floyd noticed that the magazine holder still contained a copy of Hustler from the early 90s that he read through numerous times. The only thing that he remembered from that issue was that it contained an interview with Yasser Arafat. Will told Henry that there were bugs chowing down on the wood. Henry said he would get a bug bomb at the barn and nuke them. They returned to camp. Henry retrieved the bug bomb and said he was going back to the blind. Will said he would go check on Grandpa Kurt's blind. Floyd said he would wait for them in the camper. They left, with Rambo following Will. Floyd threw his dirty glove into the burning barrel. He went inside and put the other glove on the shelf above the washing machine. He passed by the mounts of previous kills. He scanned them and spied one that his dad shot when he was a kid. He begged his dad to let him claim it. Henry agreed, and the plaque read, Floyd Spicer, 1999. Floyd sat on the couch. He looked at the rack his great-grandfather Anton bagged before the camp was established. Next to it was the rack his dad bagged back in the mid-90s. They were the two biggest horns on the camp wall. Floyd closed his eyes and breathed deeply. He thought of the Thanksgiving dinner that was going to take place the next day. Thanks, everyone. Good. I guess I'll keep on rolling. Technically got 2 poems here. Do that. As I see you folks are doing, I highly encourage you to check out the works here, the postcards, the books, the photographs. Highly encourage that you purchase them. You are supporting independent press. You are supporting Zach Elmblad, a great gentleman, a great artist, and a great entrepreneur. Oh, and you will also be supporting me inevitably since he's going to be publishing my work, and God knows we need all the help we can get on this venture. Damn.
Don't point it.
Wait, don't do what?
As you bent over, you pointed the microphone at the speaker.
Wow, I did not expect that reaction. Okay, I'll finish off with 2 poems here. This first one is pretty much considered I consider the first real good poem I've ever written. And the first real one I've ever really been proud of. It's available on my ebook, Blind Grave Robber / Agnostic Eggs. You can download for free online through Gumroad. I guess just check out my official website, GarretSchuelke.tumblr.com. You'll find it there. Here it is. It's called Cool Rainwater. I was sleeping in the alley behind the old toy store. My landlord booted me out of my home a few hours ago and, not wanting to check into the homeless shelter, went to sleep underneath the stars behind a good childhood memory. My body was being pelted by something. I sat up and saw the clouds light up. I ripped open the package containing my $1 disposable poncho, put it on, and went back to sleep. I woke up 4 hours later, according to my cheap Walmart watch, to find myself completely soaked. In my right hand, a pool of water. I lifted the hand to my mouth and gulped the water down. Then I turned over towards the brick wall and tried to get back to sleep. Alright, thanks. Alright, folks, final poem and then, I'll be sticking around here, honestly, to hang out, but this is the part where I say, then I'm out of here. Zach, I assure you I'm not pointing this towards the speaker. Maybe, this place is haunted, right? So maybe the ghosts are messing with it. Maybe I'm not going hard enough for them. Anyway, last poem of the night. Thanks, folks. Thanks for stopping by. You're all awesome. This one's called, actually, I kind of consider it the spiritual successor to Cool Rainwater. So it kind of fits in with this one. It's called Hi Momma. It's available too in my ebook, Wotan, which is also available for a free download through Gumroad. Check it out. Hi Momma. I go downtown to check my P.O. box and find 2 letters waiting for me. Both are from the state, both regard benefits, and both say the same thing. Denied. I head back to my apartment in Vine and make some calls. I call my landlord, my parents, my brother, my uncle, my aunt, and my friends who said I could crash with them for a bit. The only sound I heard on every line was ringing. I look around and imagine all the stuff I sold. I try to hallucinate them into existence, but my mind prefers to hoard them all to its sane self. A couch, a table, a shelf, and a few blankets are all that I own. I can't take the furniture with me. They'll belong to the landlord tomorrow. He keeps the kitchen. He keeps the stove. He keeps the fridge. He keeps the sink. He keeps the vent. He keeps the table. He keeps the living room. He keeps the carpet. He keeps the couch. He keeps the thermostat. He keeps this wall. He keeps the shelf. He keeps the bathroom. He keeps the toilet. He keeps the shower. He keeps this sink too. He keeps this bedroom, this door, this carpet, these windows, this vent, this wall. I run out and trip on the driveway. I smash my jaw, and when I spit out the saliva and blood, I spot what I think is part of a tooth. No, you ain't gonna get that, I thought. I shovel dirt on it, give it back to Momma. A heads up to let her know that I'm finally back home. Alright, for real, I'm done, folks. Have a good night. Zach, come take this mic before I make it squeal again.
I'll mute it.
Hello, No Shame Theater. How's it going tonight? Name's Garret Schuelke. I'm a writer from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I got a poem here I'm going to read for you. It's called Capitalist Sketches. Let's see if I could do this in 5 minutes without totally embarrassing myself. Capitalist Sketches. 1. Working on the line past midnight, hoisting and dumping bags filled with frozen clothing, smashing it on the floor and tables to loosen the aprons, napkins, rags, medical gear. Then they spill out like rocks and pulling apart the ones that want to stick together. The routine gets sidetracked with a bag that is light and soft. Along with the bloody aprons are maggots, jiggling in a concrete mass of fly-dreaming orgy, individualized with a sweep of the hand to the floor to play survivor on the plastic mats. Revealed are slim brown pods. One is picked up, examined, and squeezed, abhorring a wannabe life in a pimple-popping fashion. Midnight shift at the linen service. 2. The newly hired dishwasher couldn't handle the morning rush and flamboyantly quit the first hour, leaving a pile that, if it didn't induce the psychotic version of blues in your heart, meant you were qualified to go back in time and teach Clint Eastwood lessons on Zen. Took over 2 hours to plow through it, constantly changing the water, checking the bathrooms, bussing tables, left in the most disgusting condition by some of the cleanest old-looking farts, while enduring a country station that played the national anthem at noon, same version, no variants, and constantly played a country rat song about a dirt road by some guy who sounded exactly like Boomhauer. Tried to get some cleaning out on the floor done early, only for the boss, who was watching from a camera that linked directly to his home, to call and complain. Rushed through the last of the dishes after the rest of the crew left, inspected the restrooms to make sure they were clean enough to fool the supervisor, swept and mopped the main floor for the pleasure of the camera, imploring him to walk over and calling the supervisor, imploring him to come over and inspect it so I can go home. He's satisfied, raves about how good of a janitor I am, offers to get me high at his home, which is only a 3-minute walk away, but I decline and make the 20-minute ride back to Kalamazoo from Schoolcraft. I undress, collapse on the futon, and smell my grease-coated arms. 3. I'm used to denying donated items that we can't sell, such as console televisions. Oh. Okay, it's about to go out, so I'll just end it up. Oh, it isn't? Oh. Oh, that's awesome. Scared me for a sec. I'm used to denying donated items that we can't sell, such as console televisions and encyclopedias, and dealing with angry donors. I'm still getting the hang of catching said angry donors dumping their unwanted items in or around the dumpsters belonging to the businesses next door. I guess you could say I hit the jackpot today when a pissed off donor went off on me, jumped back in his truck, and sped away. I see him stop in front of the dumpster, open the door. He just sits there and yell, "Hey, sir," pops his head out. "Please don't dump your items here. We could get in trouble." He yells back, "I'm talking to my daughter." "What, a guy can't talk on the phone here?" I stand and watch him talk for a few more minutes before he heads off. I come back on a page to the front to help someone move furniture they purchased. The customer is the director of the nursing home and his companion is a grandma who lives there. They purchased a couch that's brown and tan and looks vintage. I put it on my cart, which is as advanced as technology was during the Civil War. I roll it out to his minivan. He asked me to help him put it on the roof. I declined giving the lowdown on the Starvation Army's policy regarding helping customers put furniture on their vehicles. If the car gets damaged, it's our fault. "I can't do it myself," he says. "You gotta help me." I decline again. The director gets on his knees and says, "Please, help me get it on, man." "Please, sir, help us," the grandma pleads. I growl and help him push it up. My 2 managers appear, go into their lunch breaks. "Floyd, put that couch down, now," my main manager says. I stop and the director pushes it up the rest of the way. He comes up to me and mumbles, "Don't ever let me catch you doing that again." The director takes my side and explains the situation, but the managers just glare at me and head on their way. The director apologized profusely. The grandma looks at me the same way Mary does at a dead Jesus and a sculpture that the Catholic church I used to attend has. Postponed script. I'm fired 2 days later. I'm sure a good recommendation and given the manager's home address and phone number. 2 weeks later, I haven't received my final check in the mail. I call the number and get a rehab center. I call another number we were instructed to use during the emergencies to get a text back from a woman saying I got the wrong number. I web search his name and discover that, while he gave me his actual address, the cocksucker gave me 2 fake numbers. I call his home and leave a message. He never returns my call. I finally ring up the Starvation Army's headquarters in Grand Rapids, get my final measly check a stupid week later. All right, thank you, No Shame Theater. You're beautiful. I'm out. Yo, 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 what is up, Gallery Caberet? How's it going tonight? Yeah, I know that. I'm just asking you guys. Because you're the audience, I'm concerned about your happiness.
Hey, you guys. This is Garret Schuelke. So,
yes, I am.
here for Garret. So he's got some things to say. So check it out.
Thank you. You're all too kind. Like Pete said, my name's Garret Schuelke. I'm a writer from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Oh yeah, let's give it up for that. Come on.
Why do they call it Grand Rapids?
Well, let's see. We have a thing called the Grand River. That's a thing. And there's some. Tell about what? Fluorination. Yeah. Dude, I'm a writer. I have no expertise in that area. Oh, we have a museum about him. He pardoned Nixon. I was born in 1987, so I have no idea how his administration went. Yeah, I probably am. Anyway, yeah, I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I'm actually here on vacation right now here in Chicago, and I know I love this. I love this city. I've been going here for 10 years now, and I decided this time to just read at least one open mic per night, and tonight is Gallery Cabaret's night. And I have 3 poems I would like to read for you. Just very quickly, by applause, how many spoken word artists, how many poets do you guys actually get at these open mics? That is actually very encouraging, because I do the open mics in Grand Rapids, and they're great. I like the people, but...
This place has been here for 30 years. I'm telling you, millions of spoken words come from it.
Okay, I'm going to have to believe you on that one, man. But, yeah, so during the open mics at Grand Rapids, I am literally the only spoken word guy, so it's actually very encouraging to get some applause at this. Most time, I'll read my poems and, oh, hey, I'm Garret Schuelke. Good night, folks. Then nothing, and I just go get drunk on Oberon, because that's a Michigan thing.
You gotta write a book, publish it.
Oh yeah, I've already done that. 3 ebooks, poetry ebooks that you can download for free. One novel, short story collection coming out this month. Check me out, GarretSchuelke.tumblr.com. Okay, I'll just get right on to this. 3 poems, first one of the night. This one is called The Kitty Cat. A cat from the neighbor's house would come around whenever my brother and I were spending time out at our grandparents' house. We would play and hang out with it, and fed it a bowl of milk. Dad and I started to head out into the woods to hunt rabbits. The cat was chilling on a tree branch, watching us. "Get out! Get!" Dad yelled. The cat didn't budge. Dad lifted his gun and took aim. "No, Dad, don't!" I yelled. Boom! He missed the cat, which jumped off the branch and made a run for it. Dad shot at it 2 more times while I pleaded with him to stop. He did stop, called it a filthy cocksucker, and we went further into the woods. The cat continued to come around, and we fed it milk. Thank you. Thank you. Keep it coming. Your applause sustains me.
Did you shoot any rabbit that day?
No, I don't think so.
You should have shot the cat. They look like rabbits anyway.
No, dude, I could not. It literally looked like Heathcliff, and he's my all-time favorite cat cartoon character. Fuck Garfield. Heathcliff is where it's at.
Top Cat. That's where he came from, right?
Oh, God. You guys are too much. I love it. All right, second poem is
We got more.
the second poem is 2 possible love stories. What could have been, yet sadly, they were not. It's called 2 Jehovah Witnesses. 1. I met her at Ground Zero's Halloween Pimpin' Hose party. It was hosted by Flavor Flav, who I remember doing a bunch of crappy Ludacris covers. She was probably around my mom's age. She was short and chubby. She was dressed like a whore, the oldest, most experienced whore in the world. The ultimate whore. I asked her to dance, and we went out to the floor. While we danced and listened to Flav rap, she told me a little bit about herself. If my congregation finds out I'm here, they'll yell at me. Why would they do that? I asked. Well, they did it last time I went to a casino. They said I wasn't allowed to gamble or smoke. Flavor Flav announced the beginning of the Best Hose competition. We stopped and watched the people line up. She told me she wanted to go up there, but she still feared her congregation's reaction. "You're a Jehovah's Witness, aren't you?" I asked. She lowered her head and shuddered. She went up, despite my claims that it was too late to enter. And when asked by Flav why she was the best hoe in the place, she proclaimed into the microphone, "Because I have the best ass in the entire club." She turned around and started shaking her big, old, flabby ass. She got into the finals, but didn't win. Unfortunately, I didn't see her for the rest of the night. Two. I met her in my foods and health class. She often smiled and waved at me. I introduced myself during lab and we started hanging out. She was as tall as me, had short blonde hair, and long legs. Awesome legs. She often wore short skirts and black leather high heel boots. One day, during a blood drive, she came in and told me that she felt insulted when someone asked her if she wanted to donate. She flashed a card in front of my eyes and said, "See this? This card shows that if I'm in an accident, no one can give me a blood transfusion." I read it and said, "You're a Jehovah's Witness, aren't you?" "Yes," she said, smiling. We hung out and flirted with each other more. Once I took her to lunch where she talked about her job at Bowers Harbor Inn, and how she believed that it was once haunted not by a ghost, but by a demon. One time the teacher and I were joking about the evolution, intelligent design controversies when she butted in. She thought we were having a serious debate and started arguing why evolution was evil. My habit of singing to myself when bored ruined any possible relationship. She thought I was talking shit to her. "You got something to say to me?" She once asked, glaring. "Not to you, I don't," I shot back. We still talked in class, but afterwards she kept on talking about this muscular jock who was in her yoga class. Now, whenever Jehovah's Witnesses come to my door, I don't just close the door or tell them, "Sorry, I'm an atheist, your God doesn't exist." I remember these two Jehovah's Witnesses and think about the few attractive, sexy, seductive Jehovah's Witnesses that are out there in the world. If more come along, I will welcome them. But I'm looking for something fresh and new now. Female Mormons, here I come. Thanks.
Unless it's short.
Last one. Okay, folks, last one. I'm out here. Thanks for having me. Thanks for Pete for allowing me on, despite his hindrances. This is a list poem, actually. Like I said, I'm from Grand Rapids, but I'm actually from northern Michigan. Hold on a second.
Just read the poem, though, because we have to get everybody else on. So go ahead.
Okay, dudes. Sorry so much for the intro. It's called Some Names I've Written Down on the Check-in Sheet at Michigan Works, which is basically a welfare place. Woody Guthrie, Satan, Elvis Presley, Garret Schuelke, Jesus Christ, Floyd Spicer, Homeless Man, Adolf Hitler, a poor poet, Joseph Stalin, Joe Hill, Ernest Hemingway, Sonic the Hedgehog, I lost my job, I wish I was rich, I need money, poor boy, and I hate capitalism. All right, folks, I'm Garret Schuelke. I'm out here. Thanks much.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Poetry evening here at the Hideout, 1354 Westwood Banksy, where every Monday night we hang out. Let me give you a couple of, commercials. One on the 12th, which is next Monday night, in case some of you do not know that next Monday night is the 12th. We're going to be having a group of people from a website called Eclectica, is that correct? Eclectica. They're going to be here giving us information on how to submit our poetry to their poetry electronic magazine. And they're going to have a section just for us. Now, we're not going to be choosing we submit, and they will go through the process. So if you get published, you get published. If you don't, it's not our fault. But they'll be here next Monday to give us all that information. Start putting on your calendar on the 26th of June and the 3rd of July. 3rd of July, correct? Yeah. We will not be here. They have special events going on, big time things, very Americana stuff, you know. So they're going to be taking over the whole evening. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me bring up our next poet. He's a dear good friend of mine. We go back a long time. I remember the first time I saw him read poetry. He was hanging out on Stony Island on 87th Street on the corner talking about, you know, how he's been oppressed, you know, even though he's a young white guy, how he's been oppressed by the white people, you know, the government. He's down with the fascists and down with this and down with that, ladies and gentlemen. He talks a lot of shit. None of it makes any sense, but it's poetic. It is wonderful. I heard him, I go, oh, bro. And I said, I remember, wait a minute, you were in my 3rd grade class, weren't you? And then you were in my 3rd grade class again 3 times. But it's okay. That doesn't matter. Ladies and gentlemen, he's here this evening. He's drinking our booze. He's paying for it. Apparently, he's got money. And so, he's got poetry. Let's give him a nice warm hand and bring it to the microphone. My dear good friend, Mr. Garret Schuelke. Put your hands together.
Yeah.
And bring wow, yes, sir. Yeah.
Yo, what's up, Hideout? How you folks doing tonight? Yeah, as he just said, my name's Garret Schuelke. I'm a writer from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And to tell the truth, yeah, this is actually my 2nd time performing here. I first performed here back in 2011, back when I was on spring break, because whereas other kids went to, you know, Cancun, Florida, and all that, I come to fucking Chicago for spring break. And I read, and I don't remember any of the poems. They probably all sucked, so whatever. Tonight, I'm going to read a poem and a cover poem. This first one is actually tweets that I've done that I've had published. I like Twitter poetry, as they call it. It's a lot like haiku, but instead of like doing observations, I just write whatever stupid, silly shit comes to my head.
Hey, 45 is right behind you, man.
Don't scare me like that.
Metaphorically, amen.
Oh, brother, you're killing me tonight.
Welcome to our world.
Glad to be here. All right, here we go. Tweets. Imagining Donald Trump as a more mainstream Lyndon LaRouche. Maturing as a drunk when you identify more with the characters in Cheers than you do with the characters in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. My futon kills fascists. Coming to terms with the fact that all you will have is fair weather friends. Intentionally wearing a union shirt while working a non-union job at a unionized workplace. When depression refuses to evolve into existentialism. Pokemon Go tip. Scour your local crack house for all sorts of rock-type Pokemon. The awkwardness that follows an involuntary Bill Cosby impression. Cleaning hack. Bomb everything with baking soda.
All right.
Drake and Bill Cosby had the best sweaters of 2015. Spoiling other movies while pretending you're spoiling Star Wars. Anyone who uses the term self-loathing to describe someone they disagree with is a power-hungry hack. Repeating temporary problem to yourself. I hate the holidays more and more with each passing year. Angry about living in an existence where dreams will never come true. Can't wait to get back to my empty room. When your teenage years were worse than the pop-punk songs you loved at the time portrayed. Living a life without grown-up emotions. The shitty 2007 computer animated Beowulf film would have been a blockbuster if it had starred Hulk Hogan. The horrible anime-based rap song becomes your entrance music. Indulging in conspiracy theories. Navigating the landscape of your day job like you would a game of Duel Monsters.
All right.
Thank you. And like I said, I'm originally from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm actually vacationing here right now.
All right.
Here for a week, doing open mics, recording, having fun time. And all my stuff is original, but I knew I had to do this cover being here, and this seemed like the appropriate venue. I've done this at open mics in Grand Rapids, and have always gotten good reception for it. I'm sure it'll be good here.
I hope it's not a Ted Nugent song, man.
A what? Wait, a what? No, what did you just say?
A Ted Nugent song.
Oh, shit. Dude, I'm from Michigan, but even I don't like him. I'm more of an Insane Clown Posse guy. Whoop, whoop. But, yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite Chicagoans, and even though I sound like an asshole, like I'm trolling you people right now, I am legitimately like this man and his music. His name is Kanye West. And he wrote a poem for Frank Ocean zine. It's called The McDonald's Man. I would like to read it to you.
Okay.
McDonald's man, the French fries had a plan. The French fries had a plan. The salad bar and the ketchup made a ban. Because the French fries had a plan. The French fries had a plan. McDonald's man, McDonald's. I knew them French fries had a plan. I know them French fries had a plan. The cheeseburger and the shakes formed a band to overthrow the French fries plan. I always knew them French fries were evil, man. Smelling all good and shit. I don't trust no food that smells that good, man. I don't trust it. I just can't. McDonald's man, McDonald's man, McDonald's? Damn. Them French fries look good, though. I knew the Diet Coke was jealous of the fries. I knew the McNuggets was jealous of the fries. Even the McRib was jealous of the fries. I could see it through its artificial meat eyes. He'd only be there for some of the time. Everybody was jealous of them French fries, except for that one special guy, that smooth apple pie. All right, thanks, folks. Thanks for having me. I'm out here. Good night.
I'll take this. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, from Michigan, Mr. Garret Schuelke. Doing the French fry, McDonald's, and tweet poetry. I guess I'm behind the times.
This mic on fire! All right, ladies and gentlemen, your next comedian coming to the stage, Garret
Schuelke.
Whoa, Garret! Don't make me call you out your last name. Get your ass up here.
Yo, how's it going, CiC Theatre? Let's hear it. Thanks for the intro. My name is Garret Schuelke. I'm a writer from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And tonight I got some Twitter poetry I'm going to read for you because you deserve it. Thank you, Chicago. I love you. Too much nihilism for 1 week. The eternal quest to become unemotional. The desire to once again own a track phone. Not caring that I'm a fat ass anymore because it's nearly winter. Longing for Jinko jeans you wore in junior high. Listening to this video game's metal soundtrack and dreaming of what it would have been like in the early mid-2000s. Shopping at Trader Joe's in a Monsanto windbreaker. Seeing yourself in the mirror and realize that you look exactly like a country rapper. Trump going hard to show that it's cool to be human garbage. Hashtag GOP debate. Wish I had cable so I could wallow in my inner nihilism. Hashtag GOP debate. Thanking God that you will die alone. You have more than earned this fedora. Kanye rapping over the Indiana Jones theme song. Drake rapping over the Doug theme song. Realizing and then indulging in the power that your resting bitch face gives you. Pissing in a water bottle, then squirting it on your grave. Craving an existential winter in Kalamazoo. I only feel fashionable in the winter. Guy with the anti-liberal bumper sticker, vacation in Saugatuck, Michigan. Regrowing my beard, just so I can once again experience the pleasure of a woman telling me she likes my daddy look. Wink, wink. Let's try to live without getting emotional for at least one day. I got plenty of reasons to smile. It's just hard to overcome learned behavior. I imagine the darkness that awaits me when I die. I go insane for a second or so, then I go on with my life. This notebook was made in Brazil and is filled with American chicken scratch. Dreaming about your past life after getting shot at a Chief Keef concert. Hiding your depressive tendencies by pretending to be a Zen Buddhist. The manager makes his demands. Dreamweaver plays on the radio. Rambling men who can only get part-time jobs. Tales of a Lethargic Loner, Volume 1. The Michigander at my job who argues after the news report that the Civil War was about state rights. The Michigander who has a Confederate flag sticker on his truck window. Writers who claim they have brands are the worst. I feel you, buddy. That's exactly how I feel about my poetry. The warmth that fills your heart when someone you despise admits that they didn't even realize that you existed until now. Dying alone, as usual. My writing is really original and necessary. Here's where you can send me money via PayPal. Every shitty writer I find on Tumblr. A famous neo-Nazi commits suicide in a crack house. Finding a shallow grave that's only meant for you. Realizing that, if computers can now dream, your chances of truly experiencing nothingness have gone down to nearly zero. Believing in worker self-management until you become familiar with your coworkers. Believing in anarchism until you start debating like-minded friends on Facebook. MRAs who use Hank Williams songs as their own personal anthems. ISIS members who use Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit lyrics as battle cries. Nothingness is bullshit. I can always find something within the void. All right, folks, I'm out here. Thanks. Yep.
All right, from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Woo!
Thank you, Garret.
I don't see a red light, but I think we're on. We're going to say we're on, okay?
All right, then.
So, hey, let me set the tone here. This is, as always, this podcast will change your life. We are in downtown Chicago. We are doing our first walk and talk in a while. I was trying to remember some of the illustrious predecessors for this, and now I'm remembering last winter was the last one. I spoke to Steve Karras, short story writer, out here, Scott McClanahan at one time, Greg Gerke, and now, dude, if I get your name wrong, this is a long-running problem of mine. I want to call you Garret Schuelke.
Oh, you got it right.
Awesome. It looks like Garret Schuelke. It should be Garret Schuelke. Anyway, Garret and I are walking north on LaSalle. We are in the loop. I have to pick up my son at school, so we are turning this into an opportunity to do a podcast. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. Into 4 days to my vacation, and yeah, life's good here in Chicago, man.
It is good. It is. I should say, by the way, this isn't, which I love, which is where we started, which could be a whole show on its own. We'll see how it goes. But you're actually like on a lit vacation, right?
A what?
Like a literary vacation.
Yeah, I am. I decided a few months ago to basically read at every open mic that I can and record it and hopefully put it up on Bandcamp for free. Either a full album or like an EP. Depends on how good the tracks are, and
They've been doing really good so far.
So that's really funny. So that's even well beyond what I was projecting onto you. So you've been here 4 days. How many open mics have you hit so far?
Well, actually, this is my third day in Chicago.
Okay,
I was
third day here.
Yeah, I was in Kalamazoo on Friday, where I did a reading for my editor, Zach Elmblad, his art exhibition. So, along with that, and the 3 that I've done here so far, yeah, got about 4 in the bag.
So wait, you've got 3 in 3 days in Chicago alone?
Yeah.
So dude, tell me where you've been so we can give them shout-outs.
Let's see, I've been to the No Shame Theater, which is located at the Lincoln Loft in Lakeview.
Awesome.
They were extremely nice and great stage. Last night I was at the Gallery Cabaret in Bucktown. That was also pretty good. I really like that bar. They got a great design. And tonight I'm going to Weeds at the Hideout, Weeds poetry reading, which I actually read at back in 2011, my last year at college, when I went here on spring break for a week.
That's awesome. And really, Hideout is one of the great, it's not just one of the great Chicago institutions, but one of my favorite places. And I finally got to read there a couple of years ago, and I felt like I had crossed some sort of line. Like I can finally check that one off the list. It's just a great place.
Yeah, there's also a poet there, and I don't know if he's going to be there tonight. Maybe I'll message him on Facebook.
Who's that? Let's give him a shout out too.
His name's Howard Friedman.
I don't know him.
Oh, he's a really cool guy, musician and poet. And I actually, before I decide on the places I wanted to read here, I messaged him asking for like advice, like, hey, you got any suggestions? And he gave me a whole bunch, and two of them was Gallery Cabaret and No Shame.
So it's funny, this will not be timely enough to catch you in real time, though I like the idea of that. But you're here for a week. What else is on your schedule coming up?
Well, like I said, I'm just going to be checking out a lot of places I've been to before, like a lot of bars and nightclubs and touristy spots like the Lincoln Park Zoo and the Shed Aquarium.
I've heard of them. One of those is free. The other one is very much not.
Lincoln Park Zoo is free. Shed Aquarium is not, but both worth it for their own reasons.
Oh, well worth it. And you know, it's funny, I am not a zoo person, but I am a parent who lives in walking distance from that zoo, and I have spent more time at that zoo in the last, say, 10 years than almost any other spot in Chicago.
Oh, wait, so you live in Lincoln Park then?
No, we don't, but we're close enough to the zoo where I've made my kids walk there many times.
Oh, because actually where I'm staying at is right in Lincoln Park. It's called the Chicago Getaway Hostel.
Where's that?
It's Arlington, on Arlington Place, right close to Clark.
I'll have to look it up. I'm trying to picture where that is. This is where I start sounding like a non-Chicagoan and someone who didn't grow up here. I immediately get beyond my, even 20 years later, I get beyond my actual knowledge base. You know, speaking of knowledge base, though, it's funny. One thing I said to you before we started recording is you are proving something this week that I have said for years to anyone who will listen. I also say it as a father and a full-time worker, but if you want to do lit stuff every night of the week in Chicago, you pretty much can anytime you show up. I mean, you're proving it like nobody's business.
Oh yeah, and one thing I like about here so far is that, one, you have a more receptive crowds for it, or at least they're more enthusiastic.
They're great.
And two, they're, like I said, more lit-centered. I mean, I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, second biggest city in Michigan after Detroit, and yeah, we have our lit readings and more so open mics where I've been reading for the past few months. I've been wanting to do a lot more spoken word stuff. And they've been cool and all. I've been meeting a lot of awesome people. The problem is that I'm essentially the only literary poet spoken word guy. And I guess it's just not as enthusiastic as it's been around here.
Yeah, no, it's very unique here. I always said to people, because I never wrote a sentence before I moved to Chicago. So another thing I've said repeatedly, none of which anyone's interested in, is that it's possible I would have started writing anywhere I was. Like, I hope I was going to start eventually. But it's very meaningful to me to have started here because it's such a literary place. I mean, I had no concept of it. It's not why we moved here. And yet there are so many readings and people are so cool. And I'm sure there's a million examples of where people aren't cool and things have gone poorly. But you know, it just hasn't been my experience overall. And most people I'm friendly with, especially people who aren't from like the lit scene, like went to one of the MFAs, like you can carve out a spot here.
Yeah, it's not as pretentious around here as, say, New York, which I've heard a lot about.
Well, as a former New Yorker, I'm very protective of our great city and state. But no, I'm not pretentious.
No offense, sir.
That was a joke. I am the least defensive, not least defensive, I'm very defensive, but I don't need to defend New York. It can take care of itself, luckily. But you're here, that's awesome. Dude, give me a little more of your background. My relationship with you has been primarily social and lit, and I'm going to hit those threads in a minute, but maybe just tell me a little bit more about, so you grew up in Michigan and all that business?
Yeah, born and raised there, lived there all my life, even though I've been wanting to move out to someplace else, like Chicago.
It's right down the road.
Yep, yeah, it's only like 2.5, 3 hours away from me, but...
By the way, this is what rush hour traffic sounds like, which I gotta say isn't terrible, but we are crossing through it.
Oh, Chicago taxis.
That's just crazy. I apologize for subjecting you to this.
No, I've been going here for 7 years now. I'm kind of used to it.
And this guy thinks he's gonna roll.
It reminds me of the video game Crazy Taxi.
Which, you know, I may be showing my age. I thought you might say Frogger, but that would make me really old, wouldn't it?
Oh, okay. Now I see the correlation now. But yeah, born and raised in Michigan. I was actually born and raised in Alpena, Michigan, which is located up in the Northeast. Here,
okay, yeah. Show me on the hand. For those of you not here, if you know anything about Michiganians, it is Michiganians, right? Michiganians, thank you. They're only allowed to show you where they live on the palm of their hands. Let me see where we are, somewhere above the thumb.
That's our privilege as Michiganians. No, right here, Northeast Michigan, it's not in the UP, we're like below it.
Okay.
But yeah, Alpena is technically the biggest city in the northeast part of the state, but that's really not saying much.
But you can still take a certain amount of pride in that, right?
Somewhat. As I've grown, I'm about to turn 30, I've come more to terms with it, and I just kind of calmed down, I guess you could say.
But you don't live there now. Now you live in Kalamazoo.
No, actually.
Oh, you're back there.
No, actually, I spent about 3 years in Kalamazoo attending Western, but I've lived in Grand Rapids for about 4 years now.
Okay. So how's Grand Rapids in comparison?
Oh, it's vast. Well, it's not as different as, say, between Alpena and Chicago, but there is just a big difference between culture and jobs and just general things to do.
So talk to me a bit, if you would, because again, I didn't start writing till I got to Chicago. I am in a way the worst kind of East Coaster. I have lived East Coast and West Coast before coming here. I don't think I ever had a snobby feeling, a flyover vibe, but I really didn't know much. And, you know, I've been struck continually how many writers people love, and at least writers I love, come out in Michigan. And I'm wondering how much of a lit community, outside of what we were talking about, that there's an event here every night, there may not be in Grand Rapids, but how many, like, did you come up in that scene? Is there a scene? Do you feel some kindred spirit? Like, I'm thinking about, I think I told you we're going to get to your actual writing, but, like, I have read your work, and I felt very reminiscent of Barry Graham to me.
Oh, thank you.
Well, a couple less tacos, and actually a little more violent, and less drugs, more or less. Give or take some drugs. But I remember reading it, and I didn't know if I was just projecting the Michigan thing on there, but it really did feel like there was a vibe. And actually, you're friends with him, right?
Oh, yeah, I am. I've technically met him, I think twice. Once for a reading at Madhouse, which I checked out, and then, before his accident, he set up like his own place for Madhouse.
Right, so let's give Barry Graham a shout out too, and a hopefully healthy recovery, man. I'm telling you, when I first started writing and first started going to readings, one of the first dudes I met, one of the first short story writers I really loved out here, and always so super generous and nice to me. I mean, I feel like I haven't seen him in forever, but he's just a great dude.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would describe him. He's always been pretty chill with me.
Good, because are there other writers? I'm thinking like the Hobart crew comes out of Michigan.
Oh,
I assume they're still based there. I mean, I don't even know.
And if you would talk about a lit scene, I personally never grew up with it because, again, desolate northeast Michigan town. Right. But if I would say there's a literary scene, I'm guessing obviously Detroit, there probably is one, but I'm not familiar with it. But there is a little bit of a crew there in Ann Arbor, like I said, with Hobart, with Elizabeth Ellen, who is awesome. And great writer herself, very generous and welcoming.
Matt Bell, who is probably now, well, I'm sure he's not an Arizonian, but certainly when I first got out here and he was first breaking out, Michigan as well.
Yep, Aaron Butch, Elizabeth's partner.
Right.
He recently, I think it was recent, he put out a book on Stephen King's The Body.
Yeah, right, part of the Bookmark series.
Yep.
Yeah, and that dude, again, been a presence as long as I've been trying to write out here.
Yeah, he's a cool guy, too.
Good, so it's funny. So these people are all there, somewhere, mostly Ann Arbor?
Yeah, around there, which makes sense, you know, being the University of Michigan is right there.
Of course.
They're close to Detroit and everything.
God, they got that great bookstore there, which isn't so new anymore, but Literati, which is one of the great ones, man. It really is.
Yeah. Oh, semi-correction. Yeah, Barry Graham's actually more based out of Ypsilanti, which is like right next to Ann Arbor.
Okay.
There's obviously like huge differences if you go between them. I mean, I noticed that like the second time I talked to him, like I'm looking around Ypsilanti, I'm like, dude, I'm mostly used to Ann Arbor because I've been there, but yeah, this is vastly different.
Yeah, let me not offend any Michiganians who understand there are subtle differences which I may be greatly glossing over. So, dude, talk to me a bit then. You're in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
Did you get an MFA there?
No, I graduated from Western Michigan University in 2011. I got a general education degree, bachelor's in arts, and well, I lived and worked there for about another year. Helped run a house venue called the Black Lodge. Got fired from my then job, and got another one in Grand Rapids at the warehouse I've been at for about 4 years now.
Okay.
Been there ever since.
So part of that is a very leading question, which is to ask, how did the whole writing thing, I mean, you've been really prolific, so I want to come back to that in 10 seconds. I said you're just turning 30 now, or you are 30?
I'm going to be turned 30 on the 8th, the same day as shout out the reading.
Right. That's the sweet. Good. So, I mean, talk to me like how the writing thing came about. You clearly have met writers, you produce writing, but you're not necessarily from a writing scene, and you didn't necessarily focus on it in school. Like, how did it happen?
Well, let's go back to the past then.
Please. Always.
Throwback. But, yeah, I started writing back in elementary school, I think the 5th or 6th grade, just silly, imaginary stuff. But then in junior high, I really got into writing video game reviews and video game journalism because I was a huge video gamer, and one of my all-time favorite magazines called Electronic Game Monthly. I don't think it's in publication anymore, but then I was like, yeah, I want to be just like them. Get into high school, and that's when we have an actual journalism class, and I'm encouraged to go into that because I like writing so much.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Good. So you have a whole history behind it.
Yep, and then, well, that was all before. I consider my professional career, if you want to call it that, starting in 2006 when I graduated high school. I officially started going by my pen name, Garret Schuelke.
Isn't your real name?
No, my real name is Gary Thomas Schuelke.
And you know, Garret Schuelke's fine with me, but that's good to know.
Yeah, a lot of people are surprised about that. Even my editor who's publishing my next book was like, really? I didn't know that. I feel betrayed.
Well, I do not. I'm just glad to be, peeling away the layers of the Schuelke mythos. So, you're publishing throughout high school, you're doing the gaming, you have a journalism class. Like, is there any point where you think, I'm going to be doing this, like this is my thing?
Yep.
Like, are you consciously thinking about that?
Wait, consciously thinking like always.
I'm going to be a writer. Like, this is what I'm going to be doing.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. I still to this day do it even when I'm not writing. I'm always thinking about it in some aspect. Like, okay, I gotta write this section of the story. I gotta outline this. I want to edit this. I gotta market that. I mean, writing is always in my mind one way or another, even if I clearly don't want it there.
So, this is funny. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm also going to mention that we're walking by Leghorn at this place, Ohio House Motel, which has been here forever and had a very crappy diner. Now it's got this very hipster, chicken place. So if you're back in the neighborhood, Leghorn is awesome.
Yeah, I am familiar with this giant McDonald's over here too.
Of course. There's some weird name for it.
Rock and Roll McDonald's.
Thank you.
Wesley Willis.
Again, do I not sound local? I'm like, yeah, there's a name for it. Okay. I'm embarrassing myself left and right. So my question was, because I was listening to the podcast I posted yesterday, and I got into a whole exchange with the poet I was talking to. We're going to try to pronounce her name right. I never do. It's so embarrassing. Shandell Beers. I think I got that right. Shandell Beers. And we were talking a bit about, what part of one's brain makes you a writer versus a musician versus an artist or a quilter. And, I always had writing in my brain, too. I didn't get started until I was your age. So it's fascinating, hearing you talk about it. But I'm just going to put people on the spot now. What do you think it is that makes someone think about writing all the time? Like, can you pinpoint anything that's like a trigger or, this happened and that was the end of it? Like, do you remember a starting point or a stopping point where all of a sudden you're like, I'm a writer?
Yeah, I would think it was probably back, like I said, in 5th or 6th grade when I started writing silly stuff. And
Wait, but how do you think that happened? That's the part I'm trying to tease out. I know you...
Probably like some English class I was taking at the time, where it's like, okay, kids, we're going to write a 2-page story today. Yeah, despite the material at the time, obviously, I really enjoyed it, and honestly, like I said, the writing came with other stuff that I was interested in at the time, and, well, I wouldn't really think about stuff like work and class conflict and all that other great stuff until years later, but even back then, I was thinking like, yeah, I think this would be a better job than, some of the stuff that's around here.
I would think so. If we're allowed to call it a job, I would agree. So, it's interesting. My association with you is fiction, which we're going to talk about. But when I saw you tonight, I think even since we started recording, you've described yourself as a poet and someone interested in spoken word. And then I went and did a little homework, which I rarely do, because I know the associations I have with you. But you have published poetry in the past, which I don't think I realized.
Oh, yeah. If I were to compare to, I've had way more success having prose or short stories, fiction in general, than I ever have with my poetry. Like, a lot of it is more self-published. In comparison, really haven't had a lot published in publications outside of like little zines that are long gone or aren't online.
Interesting, but you do have, I noticed or read, though none of the names are popping up, I apologize in my brain, you do have a couple of chapbooks out earlier?
Yeah, that was actually my first real delve into self-publication, is that, well, technically I started writing poetry in 2007, and by 2008, I felt that I had enough that I wanted to self-publish it. And keep in mind, too, I'm really late to a lot of things as I've learned over the years, and I was not aware of how ebooks or PDFs worked at the time. So I just solely created my own zines. I found like a poetry chapbook format off some like woman's magazine for free download, and I just started making my own. The first one was called Blind Grave Robber, which is probably out of the two of them, the best one that I did make. I sent it out.
Clearly it's all filled with humor pieces?
I wouldn't call it humor. A lot of it was influenced by this poet named Reagan Butcher. He was more, at least with his poetry, he was associated with this anarchist collective called Crime Think. Now he does general science fiction, fantasy, novels, and series. He's really doing well for himself.
So were you drawn to anarchy or anarchists, or is it him in particular? Like, what's the draw?
Him in particular, because I knew about Crime Think beforehand. I was interested in anarchism at the time, and Crime Think was part of their letter series, which I guess was like their literary arm of their then company. Wait, no, not company, collective, my bad.
Got it.
And, he put out 2 poetry books with them. One called Stone Hotel, Poems from Prison, because he was in prison at the time when he wrote these poems, had them published. And then another one called Rusty String Quartet. And about his style, what attracted me to poetry was just how short and direct it was. And I was always raised on the poetry that has to be long and flowery. You have to have like a specific message behind it.
So this raises an interesting question. First off, let me say that I both consciously and unconsciously want to get more poets on this show, and I am both consciously and unconsciously achieving that. So that's purely just a pat on my own back. We can ignore that. But I want to say that out loud. I'm very pleased with myself. My question though is, when you say raised, I know that's also a metaphor, but did you grow up in a literary house, or is that just what you got exposed to in high school?
That actually Reagan I got exposed to in college, but no, I wasn't really raised in a literary household per se. Both of my parents are from, you know, middle class, lower middle class backgrounds. My dad works at the cement plant, and he's on the verge of retiring. My mom works in the public schools, and she too is on the verge of retiring. And well, they encouraged me to read. They obviously wanted me to do that, but it wasn't like you know, an ideal artistic household like you hear about some writers or artists.
Sure. Yeah, well, that's one of the things I'm always interested in, right? Which is partially why I was pressing you on sort of where you think it comes from. Like, I'm really fascinated by how people get into writing and think about writing, and you know, here you are, you're self-publishing. It's all very interesting to me. So talk about the transition then from poetry to fiction. So my experience of knowing you or meeting you, or however we first connected, was that we first connected, I'm totally going to get this wrong, was your novella. Please pronounce that for me.
Oh, Anamaki.
Anamaki, I'll never get that right. And I keep wanting to put a W in front of it and call it Wanamaki. So I should probably know this. What does Anamaki stand for?
Oh,
what does that mean?
Oh, it's I was looking for basically the novel takes novelette, however you want to call it, the short novel takes place in Alpena with my character Floyd Spicer.
Right.
I basically wanted to call it something that was related to Alpena, but not like call it something that everyone would know, like the Sunrise Side or something. Anamaki is the old Native American word, I think, for like the Thunder Bay River that goes through there.
Okay.
And
I mean, I was assuming it was something like that, but then I thought, seeing your sort of anarchist and potentially even goth leanings, I thought it could be something completely different.
Oh my gosh, that's funny because
you do have a goth phase, right?
Not goth. I say it's more punk rock.
Okay.
Because I was more interested in that culture and music. I mean, I wore black. It was my favorite color for a while.
And I think I must have seen on social media somewhere that you, in fact, dyed your hair black at one point, right?
Yeah, I did. That was for an actual goth party in Kalamazoo.
Good. I didn't make that up. Good.
Yeah, and that's actually my dad's hair color, black. And I always kind of been jealous of him for that. So
black is a good color. Very well. So, okay. So, Anamaki?
Yeah, Anamaki, yes.
Anamaki, that's a novella. That's when I first got exposed to your work. I mean, I have to say...
Yeah, I contacted you, please, Mr. Tanzer, can you review my book for your blog?
Is that how that happened?
I believe so, if I'm recollecting right.
That makes me smile. Well, I really enjoyed it, and you know,
thank you.
It was interesting, and I'm going to say all this terribly and you'll make it sound better, but, you know, Floyd Spicer really broke my heart, and it was funny, because I know when I wrote about the book, I had gotten caught in the rain. This is going to sound like the worst, like, middle-class dad, white guy thing ever, but I was out running, and I got caught in the rain like an hour from our house, and by the time I got home, my phone had totally corroded. And I was in this really bad mood for a day or two, and then, or at least a day or two. And then I read your piece, and I thought, Jesus Christ, compared to Floyd Spicer, I'm doing great. Who the fuck am I to complain about corroded phones and my inability to take photos on Instagram? Then I felt very guilty.
No, don't. That's, I guess, not to go into a rant, but that's one of my complaints in life is people who, God, what's the word I'm looking for? Debase or degrade other problems. You know, saying like, oh, well, this person has it worse than you. No.
Well, I appreciate that. My mom always said, you know, if it's your crisis, it feels like a crisis. It qualifies. but it was not meaning me, anybody. But it was funny. I thought, Floyd Spicer, I want you to comment on this however you want, but one of the things I reacted to with that, outside of my phone and my bad juju, but one of the things I know I react to with friends and with myself and with anybody is this idea that people feel stuck or trapped. Like, it's a huge trigger for me personally on my own making decisions, but I know I tend to react to it in other people. Like, if they seem stuck and they're not aware of it, it can drive me really crazy. And I kept thinking with Floyd Spicer, if anything else, this dude is really stuck and he really doesn't know how to get out. Is that me projecting onto the book, or is that one of the ideas?
No, absolutely. In the book, I guess to spoil the plot, he technically goes off to college in our town. He bombs at that college. Then he has to move back in with his parents and attend the local community college. So yeah, Spicer literally just got away from everything that he wanted to get away from. Then he gets dragged back by his own doing. And it's just like, It
felt heartbreaking. It's funny, meeting you, because I'm sure there are elements of that which are biographical, where you grew up, people you know. But of course, that's not your story. But that's not your story at all, is it?
Maybe, no.
Well, but I guess I'm just thinking, you finish school, you keep producing art, like, you're doing all these things. He really can't. Like, he can't get out of his own head.
Well, yeah, Spicer isn't an artist. He really is, I guess, just a regular working class dude. That's one way to put it.
But even then, it's interesting, right? You can be working class and not be so fucking self-destructive. Like, he drove me crazy and made me feel empathy at the same time, which I know you're probably telling me not to feel. But I just thought, God damn it, man.
No. I don't tell people how they should feel or how they interpret.
I appreciate that. But God.
It's how everyone does it, and as I've learned, it's kind of a waste of time with some people. You're cool, yeah. But I've met some people who are just really staunch on their views, or they just can't get a certain way of thinking out of their head. And I'm just like, okay, man, I'm not going to argue your interpretation anymore, even if I think it's completely wrong.
Well, partially too, and I wrote this when I wrote about the book on my blog. I had just reviewed a book by an author I'm friendly with, Lavinia Ludlow.
Oh yeah, I read that review.
Right,
too.
so she had written Single Stroke 7, her second book, and her book and your book, though the characters are different in a lot of ways, they actually felt very similar to me in that you and she are close in age, and it made me feel like you guys are a solid generation, possibly 2 younger than me. That your characters reflect what feels. I'm also a college teacher now for the first time in my life. Like, that you guys reflect a certain something that I did not grow up with, which is there really do feel like there are less options.
Oh yeah.
And for work, we graduated from college, a bunch of friends and I, or maybe all of us, and the ones who didn't already have graduate school or something lined up, we had literally nothing lined up, and nobody cared. There was no concern that we couldn't go out in the world and possibly find something. And the students I teach and the characters you write about, it feels almost completely the opposite. That if there isn't something readily available, there may be nothing readily available. It's not just that they got a problem.
Well, that's the thing too with the setting Alpena. I guess I'll talk about the real life Alpena.
Yeah, please, because that was on my mind and I don't know it.
Well, I guess to set up what I'm about to talk about, we recently had a hotel open up downtown, Holiday Inn Express. That is a huge thing in my town because it's a big attraction opportunity, and more so, it's a job opportunity because Northeast Michigan, like a lot of northern Michigan towns, is pretty sparse on the good paying jobs, the one with the benefits, the type you can make a career out of. Pretty much the only real 2 that I can think of, and I'm sure there's someone from Alpena, if they listen to this, will partly disagree with me about. You can either work at the local hospital, or like my dad and his great-grandfather and even myself temporarily, work at the local cement plant. Even that's been having trouble over the past few years. So yeah, I So yeah, I do realize what you mean there when I talk about sparse opportunities, because Alpena, it's gotten better over the years, especially after the whole Great Recession thing, which hit us hard.
Right.
Yeah, it's still pretty much sparse opportunities.
Well, maybe I said it poorly earlier. I guess the way he feels stuck to me is that he's got his own problems, his own challenges, his own inability to get out of his own way, but he's also in a world or in a universe or whatever the right language is, that isn't exactly set up for him to succeed, even if he gets out of his own way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I do believe that unless there's like something wrong with you or your circumstances, like you suffer from mental illness or addiction, or you literally come from an abusive home, all this shit may happen to you, but you do have to at least try.
He's not that, and that's why I guess when I met you, I thought, in that way, that's how it's not biographical. You're cranking. You seem to be.
Oh yeah, I'm just totally pumped. I'm totally pumped, motivated, asshole-ish. I'm a little...
Dude, that's part of it.
I'm not as bad as, like, say, Henry Rollins, but I'm kind of getting up there.
Of course, if that's your bar, then it's very hard to be that asshole-ish, though I'm a fan of his. So this is actually a good segue.
I'm a huge fan of his, too, actually. He's one of the reasons why I'm going more into spoken word and comedy now is because of him.
Oh yeah.
Along with comedians Doug Stanhope and Patton Oswalt, who I both love.
Patton Oswalt, who was in town Friday night.
Yeah, I did see that, and I'm totally bummed I didn't get tickets. Not just because of I'm here, but I guess he was going to talk about his wife's death.
I saw in the newspaper this morning that he did an hour set. He did back-to-back sets. But he did an hour set, and and I don't know if he did the same set twice, because he was doing a recording for Netflix, maybe?
Yeah,
but the second half of the show was about his wife.
Yeah, he's making a Netflix special out of it.
I read somewhere that basically one of his running arguments with his wife is that there's nothing, that he would argue that the universe is rational, and she would argue it's not.
Oh,
and he said she clearly proved her point.
Yeah, that's part of his big act, too, there, at least, like, at the beginning.
Yeah, so, anyway, dude, let's use this, and we're reaching my end point, but we're doing great on time and everything else. But this is a great segue because I'm also well aware, which is one of the reasons I was excited to hook up with you today, besides getting to finally meet you in person, but you have a short story collection coming out when?
Probably the end of this month. It's called Hub Jamboree Stories, and it's being released through Elmblad Media Group.
And this is your publisher where we started, right?
Yep. Zach Elmblad runs it. He's my editor and good friend.
I have been lucky enough to get a sneak peek at that collection, so this is a great segue. But, it's funny, like Floyd Spicer, there's definitely a Floyd Spicer vibe going on. But I have to admit, a lot of these characters, and you can tell me if I overread it, so that's not the phrase I'm looking for, they seem a little more desperate to me than Floyd Spicer. Like, he seems like a guy who has sort of made some mistakes, he's gotten stuck, what have you, and he's back home, and, home is not going to offer any opportunities. But I kept thinking with this book, these stories, the characters felt more desperate to me, possibly more down and out, and then intersecting with, and again, I kept trying to remember the first book better, but there seemed to be a lot more violence in this one, or at least a threat of violence, or at least violence for these characters was feeling like the best way to settle things. Now, is that accurate?
No, that's even something I've noticed when I've been writing these stories. I mean, I technically, like, two stories, Lycan and Hub Jamboree, I started beforehand, but I really started cranking out these stories in 2014. Coincidentally, it was after I got my appendix taken out. I had like 3 weeks of recovery.
So we should ask, this was in a hospital. You didn't wake up in a hotel room somewhere.
No.
Because that would be like one of your stories.
No, basically I got it taken out, and my parents took me back up to our hometown, and I spent 3 weeks recovering. First week was just basically hanging around because I was sore and felt like I was going to get gut open at any time. Second week I started writing because I was better, but I was bored. So I was like, all right, I should finish this story, finish Hub Jamboree. And I was like, okay, I got this idea, maybe I should write it. And that's literally what I did for the next 2 weeks, was write all these stories, and then it continued from there.
Oh, that's great. Well, so what do you think then, since you're agreeing that I didn't misread this, do you think, and I maybe you're making this illusion, so let me ask, but do you think some of the feelings sort of violence or violence as communication came out of the physical state you were in?
It's possible, but especially, well, I would say that, but particularly the...
I think we're going to stop in this corner, and that way, you're most of the way back to your hotel, and I can cut over to my kid's school, but we'll finish the discussion.
Okay, well, but basically, yeah, I do see it as a way of communication, specifically with their lives. You know, Floyd Spicer, who's, like I said, who's a laborer and a middle working class guy. There's Imogen, who's like the crust punk who lives in, you know, shitty houses in Kalamazoo in the punk rock scene there.
This is probably what really reminded me of Lavinia Ludlow's work. So Lavinia, if you're listening, this is now a shout out to you, along with Barry Graham. And somehow I see the two of them crossing paths anyway, at least in my brain. That may not be accurate.
Yeah, and then finally there's Godin, who's a superhero character, and that's one thing I learned with Godin too, is that I just like to write exciting stories.
Yeah, so that was my follow-up.
A lot of action, a lot of witty dialogue, and well, one thing I learned is that violence makes for good stories.
Interesting.
God,
I'm
sorry. I'm sounding like Quentin Tarantino.
No. But again, it felt like an uptick, and it made me wonder. You know, is it the mood? Is it the state of the world? Did you just struck on a different sort of texture you were messing around with?
Yeah, I would say that, especially in comparison to like my first real tries of fiction. A lot of them were like, well, technically Floyd and Imogen's stories are slice of life. At least that's one term I heard about them. But everything I wrote then just really felt empty and boring and bland. And I didn't want to do these for these stories, or even the ones I'm doing now. I guess at the time I found violence not only just fascinating, but a way to make an interesting story. Like here, let me give you a great example. Charles Bukowski, his publisher John Martin was talking about his work in Bukowski Born Into This. He made a comparison like, what do you think people will like more? A poem about Bukowski seeing his daughters play and then taking her out to dinner, or him getting stabbed at 3 in the morning by a prostitute? Which one do you think would be a more enjoyable read?
Well, you know, when you frame it that way, that is a no-brainer. So this actually raises another question for me, though. And maybe it's influenced by the discussion of your hometown, or maybe it's my, again, own projection, state of the world. But these characters also, even more than Floyd, they seem like they're really down and out, right? There's a series of pieces which are really, touching. I don't know if that's the word, poignant. I don't know. People dealing with landlords and without being able to pay rent, and asshole neighbors and drug dealers. And it made me wonder, I think partially, again, slice of life, you're capturing what you know from where you grew up. But it also made me wonder, is there any intentional, and again, my projections, any intentional political statement there, or is that just what it is?
Oh, it's just what it is. I, first of all, tried to write a good story, something exciting. Something that people will like. If they can relate to it, cool. If not, then, well, it's not really my job, I think, to try and make you relate. I just want to entertain you. And, I wanted to say something else. God, this is one of those moments where you have this really great thought, but then half of it just like goes out of your head there.
I mean, as the car traffic thumps your brain. But again, it's interesting because, in a way, though, it's not just a slice of life. Again, I think also coming off the recent election, and you're really capturing folks in a way who are not benefiting from where the country's going, and are not going to benefit anytime soon. That's what it felt like as I was reading it.
Oh, now I remember what I was saying.
Okay, good, hit it.
No, I don't go out there, like I said, I write stories that I think I entertain people. Like, I don't go out there with a political statement or anything. If the characters have it, then cool, they have their beliefs. Whether they're my beliefs or not doesn't matter, because these are characters that are their own persons.
No, it's interesting. And actually what's interesting, and now that you're saying that, is that, per se, and again, I think you're talking about me as the reader, it's not that the characters are evoking any particular belief or spouting any particular belief. I'm thinking about the situation they're in. Like, And again, these are things I always worry about. Like, if they lose their housing, where are they going to go? And do they have health insurance? And, you talk about earlier addiction and mental illness and abuse, and those are all threads. And, I mean, those are, to me, they feel like shades in the book, that they're sort of lingering there in the corner. And I just thought, it's not overtly political in any way, but it does seem to be making a commentary about, again, I apologize, sort of a group of people who are being left behind in certain ways, and you see they're in a way fighting amongst themselves.
Oh yeah, well that's because I've known those kind of people before in my hometown and in Kalamazoo, whether they're political or not.
Right, that's what I was trying to get at.
There is inevitably going to be a lot of infighting for various reasons. I guess that's just part of humans in general, because that's one thing I've always heard is that we're a tribal species.
Well, and also I think, when there's a scarcity of resources in a limited place, you've got a small town. I grew up in a fairly small town, probably not as small as you did, and when there's scarcity, people have to fight over what's available. I mean, if there's one apartment, one of the stories, there's all these people fighting in and around this apartment, and whether it's damaged and who's going to pay for that, and I thought,
Oh, the flower man.
Yeah, if that's what you've got available, then that's what you care about, right? Again, it felt like lack of choices. It felt like people battling lack of choices.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, in that story is because Floyd and his brother, father, and grandfather have to basically clean up this apartment that the grandfather owns after their cousin, who's a fuck-up and a felon, basically wrecking it. I would see that more with the Imogene story, Black Doom of Options, where Imogene and her other housemates basically get screwed out of their rent by this junkie who just stole everything.
So that one, it's funny. The Floyd story I didn't find as painful. They're actually very nice. They really bookend each other really well. But the Imogene story I found I found it heartbreaking.
Because you relate to it?
I don't know, man, because now you're looking at me like, dude, I don't write stories so you'll feel heartbroken. But there was something about it, just that they were not going to work that out. I guess, personally I was thinking, too, it's like...
Oh, no, it's very hard to work things out with junkies.
Well, that's what I was thinking, like...
I actually know this from personal experience.
Yeah, so you're in this fucked up situation, and you can't make it right just because you want to do the right thing. That's what I was reacting to with that story. And I think it's a thread of yours. Again, my projection on your work, but kind of like, people can try to do the correct things, and that may not be enough. And that I always find endlessly frustrating. Not in writing, in life.
Well, again, I guess that's just an interpretation. I mean,
of course.
Personally, I think what Imogene did, smash in the door with a sledgehammer is a pretty reasonable way to go about it. But it
is reasonable, but she's still not going to get her money back.
Well, yeah, but...
So, dude, what haven't we covered? And by the way, now I'm having a weird aha moment, even though I read both of these. Is it the same Floyd?
Yes, it is.
God, man, it's funny. I was going to ask you about that, and then you just said it, obviously. I think I thought, is he using the same name, which would be fine with me, but it is supposed to be the same Floyd.
Yes, Floyd, Imogene, Godin all belong together in one shared universe. I'm not going to go cliche and call some, like, the Schuelke verse or anything like that.
No, but it could be, this could be your Faulkner moment. You are creating a community.
Oh, no, I'm actually this influence comes from a lot of things like Ernest Hemingway's Nick Adams stories. Hemingway's a huge influence of mine.
Yeah, take a minute on that, would you? A couple of beats. Who are some of your influences? Again, I read it, I thought of Barry Graham, probably because of where you're from, but who are the writers that influence you?
Funny enough, there's a meme going around where it says, like, the 11 people that influence you the most.
I saw that.
So, I guess, to rattle off a little bit from there, I would say Haruki Murakami and Ernest Hemingway are, like, my big two. Like, those are the guys I look towards stylistically, character portrayals, even language. And, let's see, there's also Jack Kerouac. He was huge. And he's also another guy that got me with the idea of doing succession of stories with certain characters. He had his Dulas legend. Then, let's see, there's also Jack London. He is also huge. And Robert E. Howard and Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Oh, man, I love Edgar. You are the first person to bring up either of them on this podcast, and I loved them.
Yeah.
When I was my older son's age, especially.
Yeah, those two were especially influential with Godin, who's a superhero.
Yeah, I should ask you about that too, because mixed into these stories is a clear superhero character who's part of the universe, but seems to be still somehow in a parallel one.
Well, that's the thing. It's all the same universe, and it's essentially Godin's world. But Floyd and Imogene are more the normal parts of it. Like, they really don't experience, like, all the weird superheroics, fancy stuff that Godin does. They are going to cross over, though. I do have a story where Godin does indeed meet Floyd and Imogene in Kalamazoo. They do interact.
Okay. Well, dude, as I said, you're productive as all get out. So, man, we blazed through this. What haven't we covered here today?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I was kind of leaving this up to you here.
Well, and I've been happy to drive it. And still, I feel like I got to check in. Well, dude, do this for me. The book again, I was calling it Whoop Jamboree, but it's Hup Jamboree.
Yeah, Hup Jamboree.
And so that's coming out end of June?
Yeah, end of June.
And the publisher again is?
Elmblad Media Group.
And they're a Michigan group?
Yep, based in Kalamazoo, Michigan at the Park Trade Center. Look them up. Elmblad Media Group, Zach Elmblad, formerly the New Scum.
Okay, Zach, this is a shout out to you. Do the quick, where can we find you social media wise?
Okay, this I'm actually prepared for. I was on a previous podcast where I kind of got tongue tied. I was like, I don't know how to do this. Zach, you're the publisher. Anyway, yeah, you can find me on my official website, GarretSchuelke.tumblr.com. I'm also on Facebook, Garret Schuelke. You'll probably find my personal and my profile on my fan page. My Twitter, @Garret Schuelke, which I really should update.
And even though this will be written down, why don't you spell it for us? You are Garret with 2 R's and 2 T's, right?
Oh God, this would be a great story. If it was longer, I would tell you. But no, it's 2 R's, 1 T.
It is 1 T.
I know, everyone puts 2 T's, because back in the day I thought it would be hip and cool to have only 1 T.
It works for me, and then it's SCHUELKE?
Yep, SCHUELKE, Schuelke, Garret, GARRET.
Okay.
Yep.
And Twitter?
Yep, @Garret Schuelke, all one word. And then YouTube, Garret Schuelke. Like, literally, if you Google my name, you will find me some way.
But you with 1 T. We should stress that.
1 T, exactly.
All right, man. So, look, bro, I'm so glad we got to do this. I'm going to see you in a couple of days. It's going to be your birthday, so we'll have a birthday drink. And I think we did good. We just got to walk an entire stretch of Chicago.
Yeah, this was awesome. I used to walk Chicago a lot before I really got familiar with the CTA. Yeah, this went by way quicker and much more leisurely than most
I would agree, and I walk home all the time. So this is good, and I think you're probably about halfway to your hotel. You may not be heading there.
Maybe. I'm probably going to go to, here's another shout out to my favorite restaurant in Chicago.
Oh, let's hear it.
It's called the Pasta Bowl. It's located right on Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's right by the Chicago Getaway Hostel, near the corner of Clark and Arlington Place. Love that. So,
one of our biggest meltdowns with our children is when we decided to take them there and didn't check whether it was open or not.
Ooh.
And somehow, not that they have any particular affinity for the Pasta Bowl, that ruined everything forever. Yeah, that was an ugly night. Very ugly.
So
anyway,
you haven't been back there since?
Oh, I will never go near it again, just to play it safe. Anyway, dude, I think this is it. We're gonna sign off. We're not gonna edit. This will be posted someday. You will be Garret with 1 T Schuelke on This Podcast Will Change Your Life. I should take a moment, as always, to remind people that you are, of course, welcome to rate this on iTunes. Management would love that. But you can find us wherever good podcasts are found. I think that's all of it.
Yeah.
Dude, beauty. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. It's great to be on.
All right, brother. And now we will walk and talk our way off this recording.